بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. So we were talking the last class, I know it's been a while, we were talking about Nabi Musa alayhi salam and the mother of Musa. And we left off talking about how they concealed his birth and that the mother of Musa was taking care of her child for a few days. And she was afraid that the army of Pharaoh would come through the neighborhood and find her child. So when she heard that the guards were coming, she swaddled Musa alayhi salam and put him in the box that Jibreel had instructed her to. And then she went and found her way to the Nile River, and she feared that this river would swallow her child. Basically, it was so big that it would just take the box. And, then the memory of Jibrail's voice came in her ears that she found comfort in Allah's promise. So she let the box go. And then the box carried the current away and she watched it float away. And Allah was guarding that box and directing it where it needed to go. And we said that Musa alayhi salam in his infancy, he told his mother not to fear and that Allah would return him back to her. And when she was afraid, because of throwing him in the river, and she was afraid that he might drown. So we find hadith that Musa spoke to her and said, don't worry, that Allah will bring him back to her. So this is where we left off. So we said that earlier that day that the queen of Pharaoh, Asya, she had told Pharaoh that it's a nice day, outside, that the weather was good, and she wanted to go to, basically, she wanted to go to the beach, to the spring, to the shore of the Nile. So she asked him to build some like pavilion thing for her, and she could go there. And she went there, and she was relaxing and swimming and exploring around. And then she saw something floating towards her. And out of curiosity, she went to see what it was. Good thing she wasn't where I'm from in South Carolina, because if something dark is floating towards you, it is definitely an alligator. So she said, I'm going to go see what this thing is. So she went and she saw that it was a box. So she pulled the box out of the water, and she saw this baby in this box. And then she saw, and when she saw the child, she had a great affection for the child, and she herself couldn't have any children. So when she saw this child, it was like, she wanted a child so much. It was like the thing that someone's reaching for when they're drowning, or getting that gasp of breath that they are when they're, when they're about to drown, getting that breath. So she felt good about it, and she saw this child. She's thinking to herself, that she can keep this child. So in the distance, the mother of Musa was watching the queen holding her child. Anyone else other than her, someone with weaker faith, maybe they would have ran to the palace, told the whole thing of what happened, tried to get her child back. But Allah had made her heart very strong in faith, and she had faith in the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So even as her baby went into the arms, says like the arms of death that were meant to crush him, because Pharaoh has killed, 20,000 or more children from sons from Bani Israel. So she trusted in Allah, and Allah took this worry away from her. So he had been picked up by Allah's greatest enemy, just as Jibreel had promised to her. It went to to Fir'aun, but Allah protected Musa alayhi salam. And we see that in Quran that a lot of time we worry and it's natural, but we have to rely on Allah and trust in Allah, and Allah will provide a way for us. Imagine how much trust in Allah that the mother of Musa must have had to throw her baby in a box and to cast it into the river, and then it goes into the hands of the ones who are trying to kill him. Allah says, and whoever fears Allah, He will provide a way out for him. He will make a way for him and will provide for him from where he doesn't expect it. Whoever relies on Allah, then He is sufficient for him. Indeed, Allah will accomplish His purpose. Allah has already set for everything a measure. This is Quran Surah 65, ayats 2 and 3. So Asiya spent the remainder of the day with this baby boy, Musa, holding him, playing with him. And when Pharaoh came to check on her, to bring her back to the palace, he saw the baby. From the skin color and the features, he immediately recognized that it was a child from Bani Israel. So he snatched it away from her. Pharaoh's heartless, killed 20,000 plus children. He snatched it away from her without even thinking, and he ordered his guards to kill this boy on the spot. Asiya threw herself at the feet of Pharaoh, begging him, saying, this boy will be a comfort for us, for me and for you. Don't kill him. Maybe we'll benefit from him, or we can adopt him as a son. So he heard the anguish in his wife's voice, and for a moment he looked at Musa's face, and his heart was softened towards Musa. So he asked her, what shall we name this baby? She said, let's call him Musa, because I found him among the water, in the water among the reeds. So it's mentioned that in Egyptian, Mu meant water, and Sa meant tree or reeds. From Bihar al-Anwar. It said, so in Arabic, his name is Musa, one that was found amongst the reeds. So he says their newfound joy turned abruptly to deep consternation when Musa began to cry. He had been away from his mother already for a few hours, so he was hungry. So they called a wet nurse, but Musa wouldn't drink. They called another one, wouldn't drink. The news quickly spread that Pharaoh had adopted a son and desperately needed someone to nurse him. So every husband with a nursing wife was hoping that he could go, send his wife to the palace so he could get favor with Pharaoh. And they all started lining up at the palace, and Musa rejected every single one of them. So Pharaoh and Asiya, they started, getting worried, and their options are dwindling down. So Pharaoh told his advisor, Haman, to go out and look beyond the palace, past the elite families, past the higher class families, and don't turn anybody away, even if they're poor or from bad area, don't turn anyone down. So the mother of Musa was waiting for the fulfillment of Allah's promise, and she sent her daughter Miriam toward the palace gates with instructions to track down, any information about her brother. So she saw a lot of women lining up and then going into the palace, and a lot of women coming out of the palace who were disappointed. So she started looking and finding out what is going on, and then she could figure out that there was a baby there, and that is her brother. So one after another, the woman tried to feed Musa. It didn't work. Asiya and the other people are getting frustrated. So the sister of Musa saw the opportunity and approached one of the guards and said, I will show you a family that will take care of him for you, and they will be good for him. The guard, didn't want to listen to this young girl, especially since so many women tried and they failed. So, maybe she was right. So they, with the permission of Pharaoh, they brought this woman she spoke of, and he went with Miriam to bring her mother. Mother of Musa was so happy as she nursed her son, and she was in the palace of the very one who was trying to kill him yesterday, and no one suspected the relationship between Musa and the mother of Musa. So she felt all of her grief and anxiety, and all of these things just melt away. Now she is peaceful and comfort, and she had a newfound faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because when Allah fulfills your promises, it gives you more strength and more iman. It's like the person, it's one of the benefits also when we make another to Allah, that, oh Allah, if you do such and such for me, answer this hajah, this need for me, that I will do such and such. For example, if you cure me from this illness, I will fast for 3 days, for example. Then Allah cures you from the illness. You are so happy that Allah has fulfilled this promise, that it gives you a like a recharge in your faith. And we say didn't we say that Allah said in Quran, Allah will provide for him for where he does not expect it. So we see here that who would have thought the person is trying to kill this baby yesterday? Now the baby is living in the palace of the one who is trying to kill him, and the mother is in the palace, being able to be with her child in the luxury of the palace, able to feed and nourish her child without anyone even knowing about it. So Allah will provide, and Allah fulfills his promises. The mother of Musa came and went, freely in the palace. She could go in and out as much as she wanted. And her and Asiya spent a lot of time together. And in private, they were talking with each other. And through the mother of Musa, Asiya was able to reconnect with her faith in a way that she had longed for, since she was forced into marriage with Fir'aun. And Fir'aun was always trying to get rid of this, uproot it from her. So when mother of Musa saw the taqwa and the devotion to Allah in Asiya, she told her in secret about Allah's promise to make Musa a prophet. So together they talked about the days and had the dreams of when he would rise up and destroy Fir'aun. One of the great qualities that we can take away from the life of Asiya is her empathy. It pained her heart to see that this young boy would be without his parents. She was empathetic. In society today, we see this quality of being empathetic dwindling away to almost becoming non-existent. People don't care about other people, even say rude and crude things when people face tragedy and they face loss. When anyone goes through some hardship, we find people even being insulting. Go and look at any comment section on any type of news post that you see online, on social media or anything, even at the deaths of people, and it will show you the sad state of humanity in these times. Even when there's famous picture that a cartoonist or someone is drawing, and the person is in the water and they're drowning and they're holding up their hand for help, they're saying help, everyone just has their phone recording the person drowning. No one is helping, no one is empathetic, no one jumps in the water. There's a photo, and this is what people do. They see two people fighting, they don't help. They go and get their phone and they record it and they upload it for the world to see. This is what society has come to now, because they are losing their empathy. Allah says in Quran, we have certainly created man in the best of molds. Then we return him to the lowest of the low, except for those who believe and do righteous deeds, for they will have a reward without end. This is Surah Teen. We have a narration from Amir al-Mu'mineen, alayhi salam. I'll paraphrase it, but he says, angels were given intellect with no desires, and animals were given desires with no intellect, whereas man was given both intellect and desires. He who uses his intellect to overcome his desires will reach a level higher than the angels. But he who lets his desires overcome his intellect will be at a rank lower than the animals. When we see in Quran, Allah says they are like cattle. Then he says, nay, no, they are even more astray than cattle. So we see this is happening. So we have to care for one another. We have to treat one another with respect. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, seek nearness to Allah by sympathizing with your brothers. Imam Ali alayhi salam, didn't he say that people are of two kinds, either your brother in religion or one like you in creation? He says they will commit slips, they will encounter mistakes, they may act wrongfully, willfully, or by neglect. So extend to them your forgiveness, extend to them your pardon in the same way as you would like Allah to extend his forgiveness and his pardon to you. This is one of the points we can take from this noble woman, Asya. Next point is her great care for children. Children have to be cared for. Children have to be nurtured. They are the future of society. One day, Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam, he called his sons and his nephews and he said to them, today you are the children of society, and that it is hoped for tomorrow that you will be distinguished people of society. You should make efforts to acquire knowledge and wisdom. Asiya, she saw a child without parents, without someone to nurture him, and took the child in as her own. She became Musa's foster mother. How many children are out there in society that need someone to care for them? I was reading before in Detroit news that there was a large shortage of Muslim foster homes. That these children, due to the lack of Muslim foster homes, they're being placed in Christian foster homes, and they are converting to Christianity. If we are failing these children if this is happening as a community. We need to do some things to prevent this. The statistics say that in 2018, that the 400,000 children in foster care, there are 100,000 of them are waiting to be adopted. The statistics were saying that children and youth enter foster care because they have been abused, they have been neglected, or abandoned by their parents and guardians. All the children in foster care have been exposed to some form of trauma. The very act of being put in foster care is traumatic for children already, because it means the loss of their birth family, their friends, their classmates, their teachers, everything that is familiar. It said that child traumatic stress occurs when children and adolescents are exposed to events or situations that overwhelm their ability to cope and interfere with daily life and their ability to function and interact with others. Trauma can affect children's brains, bodies, behavior, and ways of thinking. Ongoing trauma often disrupts children's sense of security, their safety, sense of themselves, and alters the way they see and respond to people and situations in their lives. He says approximately 1 in 4 children in foster care will show signs of post-traumatic stress disorder. In Islam, one of the most encouraged acts that you can do to attain Jannah is to take care of orphans. I mean, wasn't our Holy Prophet, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, an orphan? Abu Talib alayhi salam took him in and he protected him from harm. He raised him and loved him even more than his own children. He would put his sons to sleep in the bed of Holy Prophet, risking their lives when the enemies were trying to kill the Prophet. In the valley of Abu Talib, they were trying to kill the Prophet. Every night he would put, for example, Imam Ali in the bed of Prophet, Prophet sleep in the bed of Ali. Next night put Ja'far, next night put Aqil, for example, and switch out his sons. Rather, his sons be killed rather than the Holy Prophet. And we see in Asya the example of taking in orphans, nurturing them, caring for them. Imagine the great thawab, the reward, one gets for removing the sorrow that these orphans feel. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said the reward for eliminating the cause of a Muslim's sorrow is more than the reward for praying and fasting. And this is the best way to approach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, Allah will grant 73 rewards to whoever eliminates the cause of a Muslim's sorrow or a believer's sadness. He will save 72 rewards for him, and he will give him one reward immediately. Imagine replacing the orphan's sense of loss and neglect with love and security. Imagine the difference that this could make in the life of a child. I don't believe anyone can, even imagine the reward that this has in the eyes of Allah. And we see that the Holy Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Ya Ali, Jibreel wished to become a human for 7 reasons. And one of those reasons is honoring the orphans. Prophet also said, the best Muslim house is the one in which an orphan is treated with kindness. And the worst Muslim house is the one in which the orphan is mistreated. And he pointed with his fingers and said, both me and the guardians of the orphans will be in Jannah. And he put these 2 fingers. You see, they are equal. He didn't say like this. One is higher than the other. So these fingers, they will be together with me in the heavens, the one who are the guardians of the orphans. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, feed orphans and women who do not have any supporters. Be as a kind father for the orphans. Be as a kind husband for the women who do not have any supporters. A castle will be given to you in heaven and Jannah for every human you treat with kindness. The castle will be better than all the castles in this world and whatever they contain. Knowing this, why are we still in a shortage of homes for orphans? Why don't we have orphanages named after the children of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, those who lost their parents in Karbala? Why don't we have any orphanages named after Ruqayya or Sakina, for example? And this is a way to honor these daughters of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And we should have orphanages not just exclusively for Muslims, but for all those children who need help. And this is a way to make the name of Imam Hussein known to the masses of people. So we have to, we have to encourage others to do these things when they have money that they want to invest in some things. This is one of the things we should tell them. We should invest in these type of infrastructures to have orphanages. Because when we look at, for example, a long time ago, the Protestants came to, in America, and they didn't like the Catholic Church. They didn't like Catholics. But now we see that Catholics are greatly liked by the people, and there's no problem with Catholics from people. And how did they do that? I personally think that they did a lot of charitable work for people. They built a lot of hospitals. We have like a lot of St. Jude comes to mind, and all of these other, we have all these places, St. Mary, St. Jude, all the saints, they name after their saints, and those things had a good eye in the public. They are handing out food, they are helping orphans, they are helping sick people, they are doing a lot of good things. And then people began to like them over time. If Muslims did the same, and we followed because it makes sense when we look at what other people have done to become successful, we should implement those methods to become successful if they are good and they are halal, of course. I remember one of the Mujtahideen, he told me, look at what makes books successful. For example, a book that is very successful, he mentioned like Harry Potter, for example. I was kind of surprised. Big alim, in Najaf, he's telling me, look at Harry Potter. How did this book get so popular? How did it get so successful? What were the methods they used to make this book successful? Because sometimes someone writes a book, it's very successful. And sometimes someone writes another book, it's good, but it's not successful. How did they do that? Find the methods. So we can see here from the methods that these people used to get people to like them and accept them and look at them in a good way, like with a good eye. We can also do these things. Imagine if we are the ones that are handing out the food. We are the ones helping the homeless. We are the ones giving out free haircuts in the streets. People are doing this. Who is Hussein is doing good efforts with these things. And I've seen they offer free haircuts in the streets. They were doing in London and some places in the States, and they're giving out free food and blankets for homeless people in the winter, coats for them, food for them, these type of things. But it needs to get bigger than just who is Hussein. If they have orphanages named after these, daughters of Imam Hussein, or for example, a battered women's shelter named after Sayyida Zainab. Imagine, no one will know who Zainab is, but when they know the work that this is doing, they will want to know who Zainab is. Why is this name Zainab? Who is this Zainab? And we tell them what she went through in Karbala, their hearts will soften towards us. They will soften towards the message of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, and they will come. Open up hospital, name it after one of the imams, like we have in Karbala, Al-Hujja Hospital or Al-Muntadhar. I can't remember. It's named after one of these in Karbala. We can do the same thing here, and we cannot say like, okay, we should name it after imams because it will scare people away. But these people named all of their hospital after their saints. Why can we cannot do the same thing? So this is one way to bring the people towards Islam, and one of the lessons that we get from the life of Asiya. He said, Musa developed into an outstanding person. His two mothers fostered him in complete submission to Allah. They instilled in him a sense of social justice and compassion for the plight of his people. When he reached the age of 18, Allah fortified him with knowledge and with wisdom. We see that we mentioned here that Imam Hassan alayhi salam called his nephews and told him about, he said, today you are the children of society, and tomorrow you will be distinguished people in the society. The hadith continues, he says, you should make efforts to acquire knowledge and wisdom. Those of you who do not have a good memory and cannot retain these beneficial matters should write them down and keep those writings in your house and use them when it is appropriate time. Imam Hassan alayhi salam is advising his family members on how to be distinguished people in society. Notice this doesn't start all of a sudden when a person is older. Rather, this was told to them while they were still children. He advised them in order to be distinguished and respected people in society that they should acquire knowledge and wisdom from a young age. Why should we start teaching our children from a young age? Why shouldn't we wait until they get older? They're older, they understand better. Children, they're absorbing things when they're at this young age. They're looking to their parents, they're looking to society to teach them about life so they can learn how to live, how to be adults. And we need to be active in encouraging them to learn the proper tools that will guide them throughout this life. We need to lead by example. We have to demonstrate to them the importance of seeking knowledge. We cannot leave them to navigate this life on their own without a roadmap. Our roadmap as Muslims is what the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructed us. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, he told us, he left us two weighty things, the Quran and Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. So it's imperative that we take an active role in guiding our children and instilling in them the love of seeking knowledge from a young age. making them little researchers. We see the importance of this in what we say that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, take action in teaching traditions of Ahlul Bayt to your children before the corrupted people proceed in corrupting them. Our children are a trust given to us by Allah, so we have to honor this trust by taking care of them to the best of our ability, by sharing with them, encouraging them to learn this precious knowledge that has been passed down to us from the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Imams alayhi salam. We see that he was instilled with this social justice, the care of his people. The hadith of Prophet says that he who wakes up in the morning and doesn't care about the state of the Muslims' affairs is not a Muslim. It shows us that we should care about others in our community, even if we are not suffering ourselves. So when it says the Muslims are like a body of believers. When something hurts, the other part feels it. For example, the foot gets hurt, the head is hurt. We feel it here. So if someone else is in pain, we should also empathize with their pain. We should also feel their pain. We should also feel concern for them and hope that they are okay. But what happens is we have lost empathy in the general sense of humanity. I'll give example. We'll end with this. We say that something has happened. Let's say in another part of the world, mass people are getting killed somewhere. So, oh, that's terrible. Let's say it's happened in Afghanistan, for example. Something happened over there. Oh, that's terrible. I feel sorry for them. And next day, people are moving on, not talking about it, not thinking about it, not anything. The next thing we say, someone got shot in our city. Well, that's bad, terrible. Okay. It's a little closer to home. We say, oh, that's kind of dangerous. It's happening around here, Oh, it's on the other side of town, though. And when it's happened over there, it's kind of bad, but it's over there. I'm not so worried about it. Then happens in our neighborhood. We say, oh, this is really close. Start to get worried more. Start to think about it more. Then we say, it happened to our cousin. Our cousin got in a car accident, for example. Oh my God, that's like so bad and it affects you a lot. Then, na'udhu billah, it happens really close to home, either to children or to our parents. It hits so hard and that we are so totally absorbed and affected by it, because the closer the relationship is, the more you feel it. The more you feel, the more you empathize, the more you feel the connection with the pain that person is suffering. Imagine if your parents are suffering or your children is suffering, you cannot even sleep. You are thinking about so much pain they are going through, you are hurting. You see your child hurt, you hurt, your heart is hurting. This is how we feel the closer they are. But we are not close with the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. We're not close with the Shia of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam like we are close with our family. But in reality, we are all one big family of believers. So we all should feel the pain of other believers in the way that we feel pain for someone who is close to us, because they should be close to us. They should be close to our heart, because the walayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam unites all of us. And we see that the mother of Musa and the mother of his foster mother, Asiya, instilled this love for his people in his heart, and the love for social justice in his heart, to care for his people, to care for what is going on, to stand up for justice, as the Quran tells us to stand up for justice, even if it is against our own selves. So this was instilled in Musa through his parents, and it tells us that we also need to instill this justice, seeking of justice in the hearts of our children, and to prepare them to be servants and followers and supporters of our 12th Imam, Imam Mahdi, Ajallah Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. Inshallah, we'll continue next week. We're running out of time here, and we'll end now, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala
اللهم صل على محمد